Thanks for listening to the PLR podcast, where we seek to build a network of leftists in the state of Rhode Island to someday win local power. Happy new Gregorian calendar year, everyone. Welcome to 2021. How are y'all doing in this new year?
Same as I was a couple days ago. Pretty great.
Yeah, utterly the same.
Yep.
You didn't think that with the change of the year, everything would change?
Isn't it like Neil deGrasse Tyson always posts every year how pointless New Year's is?
Yeah.
He always,
Probably.
I saw a meme on it like a couple nights ago, but it's true. It's just a formality, right?
I mean, that dude's not my favorite dude or anything, but yeah, he's right about that.
Yeah, it's pretty redundant, but that does mean that there is a new line of legislative proposals and laws for the state of Rhode Island that I thought, because this is the New Year episode, we could start with that. So the first thing I wanted to say, and this was messed up. So this is an article from the Providence Journal that lays it all out, but it starts with the point that the General Assembly, the Rhode Island House and the Senate, are not meeting in their regular Senate chamber or the House chamber. They're meeting, the Senate is meeting in a room on Providence College campus, and then the House is meeting
At their house?
at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium, which is weird because this article even says that in a sign of times, Rhode Island's legislators will not start the new session in their ornate chambers, which got new paint, new rugs, new leather upholstery only a year ago, and $166,000 worth of plexiglass partitions in mid-pandemic. So the state of Rhode Island invested all this money in beautifying the congressional chambers of the state, only for them not to be used right now.
Big surprise. Wasting money. I wonder if it's because the dimensions of the place is a little bit too small. So maybe in the VFW center it's a larger, so it's less likely to lead to contagions. But I don't know.
It just seems like a misplaced spending priority to me, especially in the past year, everything that was going on.
I know I bring this up a lot, but what if there were a reality TV show where you make over the House and the Senate?
Yeah, like MTV Congressional Crib or something like that. I don't know.
Damn.
MTV
All right.
Pimp My Crib.
Put it in the idea notebook.
The two chambers are also doing their formal announcements of who is going to be the president of the Senate, which is going to be Democrat Dominic Ruggiero, and the House Majority Leader is likely going to be K. Joseph Shekarchi, who we went over in the promo episode. And yeah, we'll get into him for a second, because one of these points he becomes a major player in. But basically, the Providence Journal did the work for me in providing a list of the things that are definitely to be addressed in the beginning of the year. The first one, worth stating, which I don't really know much about, but you guys might know something about, is they're going to be voting on minimum nursing home staffing requirements, with a big push from the service employees and international union, which poured thousands into a campaign to oust unsympathetic legislators. So I don't know any details about minimum nursing staffing, but it seems like a good idea to me.
I've heard arguments on both sides. I don't know about this specific instance, but I know that in the past, when they start to do this kind of thing, it's kind of like it's a good intention thing, but it can have like bad endings. Because if you tell them they have to have a certain amount of nursing staff at a given time and they're not able to hire that staff, it ends up causing problems for the business, and it ends up harming the people that are there.
Does it affect wages, you think? If you have to have a minimum amount of nurses at a place, would that mean if you had to hire more people that wages would go down?
I'm not sure. It depends on the pocket of the person that owns the place, really. But if you are allowing a nursing home to stay open, if they are only able to have a certain amount of staff there and they can't meet that staff requirement and it has to shut down, what does that do for the people that live in the nursing home?
Yeah.
So
point.
it's something that's, well-intentioned, but, what's that phrase about the road to hell?
It's paved with good intentions.
There it is. So,
Yeah.
maybe something that isn't an either or kind of scenario would work better. Maybe some kind of help from the government to meet those requirements instead of putting a gun to their head and saying make a choice.
Mm.
But I am neither a nurse nor an elderly person yet, so...
Yeah, I mean, if any listeners have any insight into this law or opinion about it, you should message us on the Instagram page. I'd be happy to hear what you have to say. Another point is the long-sought legislative sign-off on a proposed 20-year, no-bid, $1 billion state lottery contract for the two big players in the state's gambling industry, Twin River and IGT, which doesn't seem all that pressing right now, but, I mean, is Twin River even operating right now fully?
I think they are. Yeah, I think the
Weird.
casinos have been open.
Let them do it. It's like, I don't know. The majority of people that I know who go there don't share my political opinions by any means necessary, but I don't know. So let them do it, I guess.
Sure.
And then this article says, then there's a big push from the left and the state's powerful public employee unions to raise income taxes on top earners in order to generate $100 million or more in revenue, which essentially this is saying there are people in Rhode Island Congress who want to raise the tax level for big earners, which I agree with.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. But our homeboy, Joseph Chikarchi, disagrees with it because he is worried that it could scare off high net worth people from the state.
This is always the fear with any kind of raising tax. It's just this scaremongering saying, "Oh no, don't! The hand that feeds us will run away." And it's not based on anything. It's just fear mongering, and it's just muddying the waters to a clear issue.
I mean, I'm curious to know what Joseph Chikarchi's alternative proposal is.
Probably to do nothing.
Yeah, to do nothing or to increase taxes across the board so that you can milk working class people even more than they already are, disproportionately to upper middle class or rich people. So I don't know what the other option is.
There's a lot of talk about like fairness and equality in America, and most of the time that's a complete joke. And when we talk about like taxation, we're not asking them to be taxed in a way that's unfair to them, equivocally to like how we get taxed. All we're asking is equal taxation. Is that so much to ask? They're acting like we're over here, stealing the clothes off their backs.
Yeah.
We're only asking for fairness.
In proportion to net worth or income, I guess. That makes sense. The weird thing is, which I think is worth pointing out, especially considering the mission of this podcast, is that it's actually been Rhode Island Republican congressional members who have been on the side of prioritizing things that work already rather than introducing all these new things. So, which sounds like we don't want to be sympathetic to the GOP in Rhode Island, but in this case, at least according to the Providence Journal, the Senate Republicans have asked the people who are proposing to raise the taxes where we can actually cut expenses without compromising services to our citizens. And so I don't think that they're on board with increasing taxes for wealthy people as much as they're just saying, okay, the alternative then has to be finding other sources of raising revenue.
Read that one more time. Does that insinuate that it's going to be like some kind of budget where they're going to start trying to hold costs back and not spend as much in order to...
It could.
Because that just fucks everything up, because where's that money going to come from? Or what are they going to cut it from? It's going to come from all these communities and all these programs that help people that aren't floating their pockets.
Yeah, so the quote, the looming fight has prompted the leader of Rhode Island's outnumbered Senate Republican to ask anew, where can we actually cut expenses without compromising services to our citizens? And programs that work, let's continue to fund them, especially programs that help the needy, help children, help the disabled, and help the mentally ill. And again, this is a Republican member of the Senate saying this stuff, that rather than, because Rhode Island has to meet its deficit or try to minimize its deficit for next year by raising revenue, and the leftist push is to tax the higher income people to get that revenue, and this Republican is saying
let's trim the fat and keep what works.
Yeah, trim the fat and keep what works. So
revolutionary.
I think there's some kind of compromise with it, but I mean, rich people have to be taxed more, basically. But then why can't you do a mix of both?
You know what's funny is that they say, like, let's see what works. Let's keep the things that help the citizens and yada yada. What ends up happening is it puts all these like constraints, because what are the terms there? It's like, let's keep what works.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to define what works, it's like it goes in like this mathematical equation to see if it's profitable for whatever it's achieving.
Yeah.
And nonprofits are so fragile in this kind of equation. There are such good things that are being done for people that are like disabled or who are poor or people who are just in need of whatever thing. And they're under this pressure to make it look profitable when it shouldn't be a thing of profit. It should be a thing of taking care of the citizenry or the population in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I think any kind of language that's like keep what works, you know, even if it's well-intentioned, I think that's also kind of scary, because the decisions on what works and what doesn't isn't going to be in the people's hands. It's going to be in those Republican politicians, and I wonder what they're going to protect or what they're going to decide first.
It's vague enough to be populist, right? To say something like that, and then in your quote mention the needy, children, disabled, mentally ill, so that people read that and they're like, oh, this sounds great, that's what you want to do. But again, the original statement is just really vague. So, yeah. I also want to add that, so in relation to why the Rhode Island Houses of Congress are not meeting in their normal places, this article gives a summary or a rounded up number of how much it costs them to rent the two places that they are, the Veterans Memorial Hall and then the place on I think it's Providence College campus. Let's see. So the Senate has secured the use of the hall on RIC campus. There you go. Through June 30th, if necessary, at a cost of up to $523,828.
Chump change.
The tab covers RIC security officers, housekeeping, in quotation marks, installation of audio-visual equipment, an air filtration system, and $66,816 for snacks and meals for the senators and their staff for 28 weeks. Again, it's just like ridiculous amounts of money spent on something that I don't really quite understand.
Couldn't they Zoom?
Why? I think they have. Like, that's what they did leading up to the end of the year. This is just like a New Year thing. Doesn't fiscally make much sense to me, especially when the looming debate supposedly is over tax hikes or funding social services. The last point that they bring up that Rhode Island is to vote on this year is marijuana legalization.
Perfectly timed.
Yeah.
That was a dog yawn.
Dog yawn. Marijuana legalization, which I haven't been following the debate in Rhode Island much. I know that a lot of the politics of Massachusetts and Connecticut looms large over what Rhode Island does. So, yeah, where are you guys with that?
A 2017 poll revealed that 59% of Rhode Islanders supported legalizing adult use cannabis. 36% said they were opposed.
Damn, 36%.
Shikarchi said he's not ready. to endorse a plan for 2021. So
Basically,
doesn't seem like it's coming anytime soon.
yeah, Sakachi is the enemy of today's episode of PLR podcast.
Yeah, how many people approved?
59%.
All right, so the majority.
Oh yeah.
It's a big majority in U.S.
But it's not good enough for him, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
No, even though it would bring like billions, I'm sure like billions of dollars in money, hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Yeah. We're talking about how do we increase revenue, right?
Yeah, stimulate the shit out of the economy.
Come on. How is this a bad idea?
It's true. I mean, if you're looking for a lucrative industry to tax to raise revenue for the state, why is there a debate about marijuana in Rhode Island?
There's a pandemic. Everyone's having a terrible time. People's relatives are dying. Everyone's trying to just get through things. You would make things a lot better. Let's just legalize marijuana. We can chill out a little bit. We can increase the revenue for the state.
Yes, all of that for sure is true. But then you start thinking about all of the medical studies about how it actually like improves your life, and it could improve the lives of people who have had COVID,
Totally,
or other issues related, similar. It would be. There is absolutely the mental health component, but then there's like, it's good for blood flow, which is good for people like me who have neurological issues or, a number of other ailments, pain, chronic pain, anxiety, etc. And I mean, it's cool that it's decriminalized, kind of, but if you look at the stats, I mean, it's not enough. It's straight up just not enough.
After winning this past election cycle, Shikarchi was asked about his opposition to legalizing marijuana, and he has suggested creating a marijuana task force for the state of Rhode Island.
For God's sake.
To try to figure out.
we need more bureaucracy.
I mean, it sounds badass, right? I want to be part of that marijuana task force. What does that entail? Like doing studies that have already been done on a national scale? Wasting more money on those studies?
I think that's his way of saying we need to pay ourselves more to even think about this.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, and when you think about who's being targeted by these laws, it totally makes sense. In that it doesn't make sense, and that it's horrible because it's highly racially and socioeconomically motivated. But it's not at all surprising.
What do you mean? Can you explain a little bit by that? What do you mean racially motivated?
Well, the laws and the arrests are racially targeted. 100%. The ACLU actually released, well, I guess everything now is last year at this point, but they released, some report talking about how, even though, I'm going to compare black folks and white folks for this, even though black folks and white folks consume and purchase marijuana at similar rates, black people are targeted and are arrested, 3 to 4 times more than white people. And they get stuck in jail, something like 20% of people are stuck in jail before they even get a trial, right? So, and jails are designed in such a way that these people just never have a chance to actually redeem themselves.
Yeah. America is not the place for redemptive justice whatsoever. I mean, it's hard for anyone to go to jail. Even if the law changes and marijuana crimes become redundant, you still have that on your record even though the law changed.
Yeah, we decriminalize the object, but we don't decriminalize the charges against the people. When this was decriminalized, was there any kind of investigation into the people who are in jail right now for these crimes? Are they should just be let go if they're guilty of committing crimes that aren't crimes anymore.
Yeah, oh, for frickin' sure. I mean, if you look at states that have legalized recreational use, like obviously California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and now as of yesterday, I think Montana or something.
Massachusetts.
Oh,
Montana's
yeah.
surprising.
Duh, Massachusetts,
Our
5
neighbor.
seconds away from here. Ooh, ironically, I lost my train of thought.
Letting go of people that are in prison.
Yeah,
for-
that's what everybody keeps asking. Like, when are you gonna release and expunge the charges for all of the nonviolent marijuana offenders?
You have to create another task force. Democratic task force first before you do that. That's what.
Politicians love task forces. Makes them feel important.
It's a way to just funnel money
It does
into.
sound cool.
I mean, when you create a task force, you're paying the people extra that are on that task force to do the research and whatnot. So it becomes kind of a way to just funnel money into the task force, who are already legislative members or city government members or whoever. Because when it comes to marijuana especially, like, the research is already there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that difficult to research scientific articles or do the legwork that other states have already done.
Yes, it wouldn't take a lot of effort to look and mirror another program at a different state, as it's already but done before many, many times. And also, I don't like the language of calling it a task force either. That kind of sounds kind of hostile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Well,
if you're going to be looking towards something positively, I wouldn't think you'd give it such an aggressive name. Maybe a council or something like that, or maybe you would bring in people from other states and take their guidance into how to achieve it, instead of creating just the sound of just a task force. It just doesn't sound very friendly or accepting or beneficial, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I
don't know,
think
man.
yeah. I think that some of the purpose of science departments in big universities or something like that kind of get lost out, because there are people professionally researching a lot of this stuff already, that, like, all the state has to do is reach out to them for information, and they're there. I don't know, it just seems like
He's
big
dragging his
waste.
foot.
Yeah.
No, that's just for recreational use. I mean, there's medical use,
That's research too, though.
it is research too. But I just want to bring up that coming up here, we're gonna get 6 new medical, like, compassion centers in Rhode Island. One in each, like, zone. We have 3 right now. One in Providence, one in
What's a compassion center?
a dispensary,
Oh.
Warwick, and I want to say one in, where's the other one? I don't know, somewhere else nearby. But yeah, so there's 6 zones, but like 45 applications went in to this lottery system, meaning it's gonna get picked at random, sort of, because, like, for example, in, like, zone 3, I think only 2 businesses applied, so each of them gets a 50-50 chance of actually winning that place. So yeah, it's 45 applications. Those applications cost around 10 grand just to put in, and then you have to, if, like, let's just say you get selected, I think it's like $500,000 to, like, a year to keep going, to keep operating. And with that kind of, like, change, you gotta think, like, money change, you gotta think, who are these people own these businesses? If you look at the long list of names, they're all really cheesy, so I'm gonna go with probably white people. But also, just considering how much money it takes to keep these things going, and all of the racial bullshit we just talked about, I'm gonna assume that it probably, when the state allows people to participate in this kind of business, it's only a certain kind of person that they're allowing. I try to look up, minority-owned businesses, and because there aren't very many in Rhode Island, it was a small research session, but Mass has a couple. So it's not hard to find, but when these businesses do pop up, I do want to encourage people with their medical cards who are patrons of these kinds of stores to do your research, please, and try to support minority-owned businesses.
This is where the credit system plays a major role in this whole thing, because in order to get big business loans like that, you have to have good credit. Dude, nobody is starting a business. I mean, very few people are starting a business with $10,000 like in hand.
Yeah.
You know?
If you go to a bank and you ask for a loan for a lottery chance on opening a business, they're going to laugh at you.
The credit system in the country and the way that it is also racialized plays a huge role in this, because you know, it's really easy as you come of age to misuse credit, your own credit, thinking that it will never catch up to you, or that yeah, I mean, everyone has, and only certain people have access to the knowledge that they need to understand what credit is and to maintain that credit, or the importance of it for the world that we live in, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I would encourage people to also think about that when we're talking about like systemic racism. That's part of what we're talking about, right? How the credit system's tentacles are also reaching into this systemically racist country we live in.
It's contingent on things. It's like it's opportunity for anyone to throw their hat in the ring, but you got to have a hat first.
Yeah.
Anyone can join in and put $10,000 in, but that you got to have $10,000 to start. And how many people have $10,000 to start?
Or be able to get it.
What type of person has $10,000 as change in their back pocket that they can throw away on a lottery chance?
And like I said, some of these businesses applied more than once. So that's like $40,000.
And some of them were already known on the Better Business Bureau, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, they have, like, as LLCs, they have to register.
Okay.
But theoretically, they're not currently in business, because that would be illegal.
Oh, so is this like speculative business starting? Like, I mean, because
they're companies.
They're already existing companies, but they're speculating now in the marijuana, the emergence of the marijuana business in the state.
Listen to some of these names. They're so cute. New Leaf, you know.
Cute.
My favorite one is Faded Minds.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can buy your tie-dye shirts there.
Right? Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Oh, Portsmouth was the third place that I couldn't think of. There's already one in Portsmouth. So Warwick, Providence, and Portsmouth.
Okay.
But
please don't go to Faded Minds. Somewhere else. I'm sorry. If Faded Minds listens to this by chance, change your name. Otherwise, nobody can take you serious.
Oh, that's all right. That's for us. That's Zone 2. Central Falls, Johnston, Lincoln, North Providence, and Providence. Damn. Perfect union. Aw.
Change your mind, or change your name, or sponsor us. One of the two.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But, like, it's going back to thinking about people being put in prison. I mean, they say that when you go to prison, it like takes 2 years off of your life expectancy. So they're actively trying to kill people, it seems, with these things. You know, capitalism, racism, policies. My notes say over 50% of the people who have been sentenced are awaiting trial still. It's just not. It's not. If you look at the numbers, it's pretty frickin' clear. Yeah. What it's about. I don't know who in their right mind, Joseph Shikarji, could argue otherwise, but Lord knows they keep trying.
The thought of being put into jail waiting for a trial, I feel like that just really magnifies the chance that that something's gonna happen that's gonna keep you there even if you're innocent. Like, if you're gonna be put in jail in this extremely stressful position with people that you don't know during a pandemic, I mean, not even like during a pandemic, just in general, you're putting people through like all sorts of stressors that people will react all different ways. And even if a person is innocent of the crime that they're put in jail for, that they don't know if they're going to be found innocent later because they're not gone through trial yet. But if they get into a fight or if they have a mouth-off situation with the CO or something like that, because they're probably pretty fucking stressed in jail, it's going to reflect badly on them when it actually comes to their trial. Or they might incur charges that they wouldn't have anyway. So it's kind of just like a really fucked up way of doing things, in my opinion. I agree with you.
When you get put in jail for a drug offense, not only is it, there are mandatory maximum or mandatory minimum sentences, but also there are fines. So you can beat your conviction or whatever, but still have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you can't, your ass is staying in jail.
Y'all see that show Oz on HBO when it came out a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
That was the genius, in my opinion, of the first season of that show. Is it showed you how somebody... I mean, I think that the main character in that acted out of rage and was put in jail, which is different than being innocent being put in jail. But still, way
he got
that...
a DUI and then he went to jail, and then he actually killed a kid and went to jail with the DUI. And then once he was there, he was just raped and there was attempted murder on him, and he was basically formed by this terrible environment that he was in, and
corrupted him in a different way. And so that even I think later on he gets the possibility of parole or something like that, and they just say that he's not of the mental ability to go back out to society. It was just a good if you're looking for a show to kind of talk about what we're talking about, to reflect on what we're talking about, then that's... And
you've already watched Orange is the New Black.
I haven't watched that.
Yo, that show is good.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really good things about that show. I haven't watched it.
I mean, the main character, Piper, is one of the most annoying people ever in the world, even though she's fictional, kind of, more or less fictional, just based on a real person. But the other, and I don't think it's cool to use, non-white people as, or just, not to say non-white, but to use black and other racial and ethnic minorities as props or plot points, but they are fully the best part of that show.
Yeah.
100%. So anyway, we could talk about abolishing the carceral state forever, probably. But is there anything else we want to talk about?
There are a few things. I read some article about a Cranston arrest that happened recently. Did you read that, Andy?
What I read about is a police officer seeing, that crew that cruises around in the ATVs and the dirt bikes and stuff. I have the article up right now, but I can wing through it.
The majority or all of them, I think, are not white, right?
I think they're probably all black or brown.
Yeah.
I don't know what the makeup of that group is, but I support them wholeheartedly because I think they're badass. So shout out to y'all, whatever you guys want to call yourself.
And this is a different group than the middle school kids that just be popping wheelies on bicycles, bombing hills, right? Okay, yeah, checking.
Shout out to those kids.
This is the crew that were riding with the young man who was hit off the moped.
Jamal.
Yeah.
Jamal Gonzalez, yeah.
So they're cruising through town. Female stops and, blocks traffic as the rest of the parade rolls through.
That's called corking.
Very cool. And she fell off her bike after pulling forward. So a police officer who was watching took that moment to run over and try to grab her. And at that moment, she pushed him off, understandably. And the rest of the group came back. And according to the report, they were circling kind of like one of those like an old Western, how the Indians circle the wagons, that kind of thing. And apparently one of the ATV riders came out and bumped into the police officer and ran over his legs. So shout out to you. And I think your name in here, they released your name, which I think is fucked up how they release names in Rhode Island, because no matter what you do, if you go on the paper and they Google your name going forward for any kind of job application, your entire future is fucked.
Yeah.
And I think that's entirely unfair. It's a total, like, privacy breach.
Unless
for
you're a
these
minor.
people.
So if you're trying to commit a crime, make sure you do it before you turn 18.
Yeah, that's true. The police officer got a description of this person who bumped into him, and they chased him through the city, or a couple different cities, and it ended up in a few different car wrecks, and they ended up arresting them. And the person's name was Eduardo Rivera, so shout out Eduardo. I hope that you meet bail and get off of this fine. But
If we find a bail fund, we'll post it on the Instagram.
yes, so the three suspects, three people were caught for motor vehicle violations. One of them had a little bit of weed on them.
Ooh, how much? I can tell you exactly.
It was less than an ounce.
If it was less than an ounce, it's called a civil violation. There's no incarceration, and the maximum fine is $150.
Well, I hope that he gets the absolute minimum in all of these. But I just wanted to talk about this because this is like an example of an unnecessary police escalation of a situation where if that police officer didn't want to be a fucking hero and run out there and be, one man against many and try to nab this girl after she fell off her bike, there wouldn't be a car accident that could have killed both riders later on that night.
I thought I read that he stopped her because she didn't have a license plate on her bike.
Well, no,
And then they found it in her backpack.
So she definitely did have no license plate on her bike, and it was in her backpack. But
Wait, on a bicycle?
no, I mean like motorcycle, like bicycle.
Oh.
But that was after the fact. He saw her stop traffic, and that's when he saw her fall off her bike, and that's when he acted in that moment. And later on, they found the license plate in the back of her.
Instead of going up
backpack.
and being like, "Can I help you up? Get back on your bike." It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, now's my opportunity to arrest this motherfucker. I'm gonna do it." It's just
be a hero. Everyone wants to be a hero.
Yeah.
And you're not heroes. You're assholes.
Was that so? Did that actual initial violation happen in Cranston?
It's a good question.
I think
it did. Atwood Avenue in the city of Cranston.
Yeah, I think that's a major line of Cranston toward Providence, because I think that like the police culture in each individual city is probably also a major factor in like how they respond to things. Remember like going to college parties in Boston that would rarely, if ever, be broken up, or if a cop did show up, it was always like they gave some warning and then left because there were more higher priority things to do for them in the city at the time. So I mean, it depends on the locale too, I feel like.
It depends also on the race of the person the cops are accosting, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%. When I had a DIY venue in my basement and the cops came, all I had to do was like, blink my eyelashes at them and be like, "Huh? Sorry, no, I don't know. We'll try to keep quiet, sir."
Yeah.
And they were fine. They'd be like, "Oh, it sounds pretty cool. I wish I was down here hanging out." And it was like, "Oh yeah, I bet you do, buddy." Meanwhile, like, other folks are trying to like sneak out the back so they don't get busted, etc.
Yeah.
They had no problem with me because of what I look like.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all subjective, and it shouldn't be. If there's going to be a law, it shouldn't be dependent on what your skin color is, or what your sexual orientation is, or what your religious history is, or your practicing.
Or perception of any of those things.
Correct.
Yeah. I thought a kind of good story to end on, because again it's New Year's, and this one is kind of funny, is the supposed restaurant owner, we don't know if he was actually the owner, on Atwell's Ave, who blatantly disregarded COVID orders and staying open late on New Year's Eve, which it kind of makes him a controversial character, because on the one hand, you shouldn't be having New Year. You shouldn't have any party right now with what's going on, especially with Rhode Island now. I think is the third highest infection rate in in the country.
Oh, we are
Yo, it's
so
weird.
red.
We're the worst in the world.
No, we were for a little bit, but now I think we're bumped down to 3.
Aww.
Yeah, so 3rd place. We got the bronze trophy.
Okay,
From
that's
gold
much
to
better.
bronze, real quick. But, I mean, so first of all, you shouldn't be having that. But at the same time, this story and his interaction with the police is just, it makes me want to shake his hand, but I can't because of COVID. So approximately at 11:30 p.m., detectives in the License Enforcement Unit were notified by the Atwells Avenue detail that Sajay Kitchen, located on Atwells Ave, was still in operation with patrons inside consuming alcohol. So they sent a police officer, a cruiser, to go inspect it. Upon arrival at 11:50, the officer went in and spoke with, I'll call him Mr. Samuel, who identified himself as the manager, and asked him to close it. And the officer asked him to close the establishment. Mr. Samuel told the police that he would clear out the establishment. He said, "All right." So everybody's drunk in this place. Cop shows up. This guy just claims that he's the manager. Which, like, I kind of hope that he's not really the manager. I kind of hope he was just a drunk guy. It says, all right, yeah, we'll close down. Shortly after midnight, detectives responded back to the kitchen and observed the establishment to be still in operation. As police entered the establishment, they observed the establishment had to have a smoky environment that could smell a strong odor. And that was consistent with that of burnt marijuana. So the police went up to Mr. Samuel again, and Mr. Samuel stated that the patrons inside were all employees. So therefore, it's not. They're not
There's
actually
like 300 people in the building.
Oh yeah, they work here.
It's not actually open. It's just the workers are cleaning up. But the police officer noticed that nobody was actually doing any cleaning. There's some people at the tables, and the bartender was serving drinks with no mask on. So it was suspicious for the police officer.
Very good detective.
I'm hung up on the, like, what is that smell that is consistent with the smell of burnt marijuana? I'm going to start talking like that.
And then according to the report that I read, all of a sudden, Mr. Samuel started acting belligerent and angry, right? This is how it always happens. It's like people that the police interact with are all calm, and then all of a sudden, they break.
They're volatile. They're unpredictable and dangerous.
According to the police, Mr. Samuel continued his defiant behavior and stated, "The only reason you're in here is because I'm black." And continued to raise his voice and yell at police to the point where other people in the establishment approached him and tried to calm him down several times. So I just want to say, I want to shout out to Mr. Samuel. If you're listening by chance, or if somebody listening knows Mr. Samuel, give him our regards, but then also tell him no more parties until this pandemic is over.
But we appreciate that fire.
We appreciate... If somebody knows that this guy is really the owner of the restaurant, please reach out to us, because I imagine that he's not, and I would like him to not be.
That's a pretty boss move if someone comes in asking for, like, who's the manager, if someone just randomly is like, yep, right here, what's up, man?
It happens, though, and I hope that in this case, that's the truth. Well, anybody else got anything to add? Yep.
No, I think that's about it.
I'd like to formally endorse generic lemon cream sandwich cookies because they have really kept me going through the toughness of the holidays. So if you own a company that makes lemon cream sandwich cookies, hit me up at PLR Pod on Instagram. I would love to talk about how much I love your cookies.
I got something too. A quick little shout out. I don't know if this is who exactly owns Northeast Alternatives over in Fall River, but they do a Last Prisoner Project donation service when you go and you buy recreational marijuana. Mm-hmm. So If you're gonna buy weed,
Recreational. That's not illegal. Wait, is this in Mass?
This is in Massachusetts,
it's in Mass. Okay.
yeah. So if you're gonna buy some pot and you want to buy it from a place instead of like your friend, which I also endorse, buy it from local, but buy it from this place so you can also donate to the last
Shady
prisoner.
B.
Yeah. Also donate to the last prisoner
Wow.
project. So yeah, Northeast Alternatives. Good job.
Yeah. I also want to say that this episode and the next episode we won't have a guest on, taking a New Year's break, I guess, from guests, but also trying to regroup and schedule these guests. We have a lot of people in store for February and then even beginning in March. And we're also in the middle of creating a Patreon, which we will have advertised and everything for help, because all of this stuff costs money, and we don't, as much as we do want sponsorship from Lemon Cookies, we don't want to bombard you with advertisements, because that kind of goes against everything that we believe in, at least. So look out for that too. And thanks for listening.
Always.
The musical guest for this week's episode is Cactus Attack with the song Smoke Too Much. If you like what you hear, look them up on Instagram at Cactus Attack and buy their music. Thanks.
Smoke too much, drink too much, my mama never told me I think too much. Smoke too much, drink too much, my mama never told me I think too much. Drink too much, and my mama never tell me I think too much. Smoke too much, drink too much, and my mama never tell me I think too much. Smoke too much, drink too much, and my mama never tell me I think too much. Smoke too much, drink too much, and my mama never tell me I think too much.